Today on this pod, I want to talk about a story that was written by journalist Jonathan Larson that went viral, talking about Christian nationalism in the military, and that there was a briefing that was held where supposedly some of our military leaders told their subordinates that the war in Iran was all about fulfilling prophecy. So today, I want to talk about that story and do everything I can to make it make sense. After the war in Iran broke, journalist Jonathan Larson came out with an article that supposedly revealed that U.S. military leaders told troops that the war in Iran is part of bringing about Armageddon to fulfill prophecy of the end of the world and usher in the 1,000-year reign of Jesus Christ. It went viral in a big way. After reading several articles and then doing some investigating of my own, like others, I have a different opinion on this article from Mr. Larson and the information it contained. The information that Mr. Larson based his article on was shared with him by Mikey Weinstein, who is a veteran and was part of the Ronald Reagan administration. Mr. Weinstein has a history of fabricating stories to promote his Military Religious Freedom Foundation, also known as the MRFF. This pattern of leaking emails that he alone receives from one singular military individual who claims that he represents a group of soldiers but needs to keep his anonymity. There has been a repeated pattern that stretches back for some time now. Not once has a source ever been revealed. Some may say he is just protecting his sources. I understand that. And the wonderful thing about this country is that we are allowed to think freely and form our own opinions. Weinstein and his MRFF organization are the only ones who receive these emails. No other organization receives them. No other news media outlets receive them. No one other than Weinstein and the MRFF receive these stories. The sources are never revealed. Emails tend to follow the same structure, the same storylines, the same vocabulary, and the same style of writing. Yet it is said that they come from multiple personnel. What are the odds of, let's say, 5 or 6 different people over a 5 or 6 year period sending emails only to MRFF with the exact same terminology, verbiage, and story to tell? I believe it to be fabrication by Weinstein to bring attention and funding to his MRFF organization. Because every time that one of these email stories is leaked, donations quickly increase. Do I have any evidence to prove this is all fabrication? No, I do not. No one does. But I share this opinion with others. There simply is no proof that the story or any of these stories that Weinstein has claimed to ever have happened, to ever actually occurring. Again, there has never been one name revealed or discovered. These stories do not come from any other source but Mr. Weinstein and the MRFF organization. Now, I know I am repeating myself here a bit, but that is intentional. It is an extremely important fact to keep in mind. Mr. Weinstein is not even providing the actual original emails. He provides a typed out version of the emails. Why does he not provide the original emails? that would give some validity to his stories and just redact the names of those who asked to be protected. All of us have seen original emails that can be shared with sensitive information redacted. Even though we see redactions, it gives validity to the authenticity of it being a real email. He has been asked repeatedly to redact the information that needs to be redacted, but provide some valuable proof that these are actual emails. It's not a crazy request. I am not going to dig into this any further. If you do simple research, like I did, you can find out exactly what I am talking about. There is a great Substack article written by the Friendly Atheist on this subject. He supplies ample proof. When stories like this hit social media, we need to make discoveries to verify the validity of what is being said before we just go blowing it across our social media channels. If we fail to do this, we are no better than those on the right who continuously spread lies, rumors, and propaganda. Enough on that subject. I do want to spend the rest of this pod talking about Christian nationalism and its effect on America and the impact it has had on our country and within our military ranks. So I think a great place to start are the events of January 6th, because that is really when all things started to go to hell in America. How many individuals do you think who took part in the insurrection were of military affiliation? Even though the overall numbers of those who participated are hard to gather, we do know that of those who were arrested and charged with crimes, nearly 20% of them had military affiliation of some form or another, from regular cadets, those who had been drafted, enlisted men, to those who once held positions in rank within our military. Now, to take it one step further, multiple studies were done after all of the arrests and convictions of the individuals who were actually convicted and sentenced of crimes that they committed on January 6th. Depending on what study you look at, and there are a number of them out there that you can find, the numbers fall between 25 and 35% of the individuals who were actually arrested and convicted of crime had ties with known right-wing Christian nationalist extremist groups, including the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, and other groups who incorporate Christian nationalist symbols and ideologies. There is a direct correlation between many of the self-proclaimed patriots of January 6th, their military affiliation, and the affiliation to Christian nationalist and white supremacist organizations and groups. Christian nationalism has absolutely infiltrated the military branches of our government, and January 6th was a perfect example of what occurs when that happens. We had retired military personnel, veterans, who believed that they were doing the patriotic thing by attacking our Capitol to stop the process of certifying the Electoral College results from a free and fair election, protected by our Constitution, calling themselves patriots while being blind to the fact as to what they were participating in was in direct violation of their military oath that bound them to protect our Constitution against terrorists, both foreign and domestic. The participants of January 6 were and will always be remembered as domestic terrorists. This is how history will remember them, not as patriots. When this ideology enters the military, the concern is not merely cultural, it is constitutional. The military's oath is to the Constitution, not to a religious doctrine. Christian nationalism directly challenges that social order. Let us fast forward now to 2025 and the introduction of Pete Hegseth as the new head of the Department of Defense. There is no doubt that he has enshrined evangelical Christianity at the uppermost levels of the U.S. military. There is no mistake about that. Airing monthly prayer meetings throughout the Pentagon, conducting a weekly White House Bible study that is led by a preacher who says God commands America to support Israel. Monthly prayer sessions in which he invites the likes of Doug Wilson, the far-right Christian nationalist preacher, who he attends his church in D.C., who calls himself a friend to pedophiles and believes it takes no special talent to bore a child.
Women are the kind of people that people come out of.
So you just think they're meant to have babies? That's
well,
it. They're just a vessel.
No, it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically.
Christian nationalism has simmered in the military for decades. Hegseth has ended the pretense of official intolerance of it. Trump has also cast himself as a champion of Christian exceptionalism, embedding it within divisions of the executive branch. The weekly White House Bible study that Hegseth conducts preaches support for Israel. Christian nationalists believe to their core that biblical prophecy requires Israel to exist for Jesus to return. So what exactly is Christian nationalism? And what do Christian nationalists believe? Well, I just shared a little bit of it with you, but Christian nationalism to its core is an ideology that blends Christian identity with the belief that the nation should privilege Christianity in law and culture. It overlaps with dominionism, the literal belief of government guided by biblical mandates, white supremacy, and authoritarian political tendencies. A dude holding a Bible draped in a flag. Christian nationalism has always been part of American culture. Its popularity has experienced rises and falls, but it has always been there. And we are currently at one of those times when it is on the rise. The most alarming part of that is the rise within the ranks of our military branches. When military hierarchy identify as Christian nationalists, that is when you have a clash of the interpretation of patriotism. And this is where we find ourselves today. What is happening in Iran and the Middle East is absolutely bullshit, and it should not be taking place. This is illegal in every sense of the word. We have a lunatic president and a psychopathic drunk as the Secretary of Defense who oversee the entire operation. A dude, Trump, who has failed at everything he has ever done in his life, whether it be on the personal level or the professional level. He has failed at multiple marriages. He has obviously failed with his children because of the disconnect that you could see within the family unit. He has had multiple business failures. He has filed for bankruptcy multiple times. He had to steal money from his siblings to save his ass after he squandered away his inheritance from his daddy. He even once had to borrow money from Russian banks to save himself from complete evaporation. This is who he is. The only thing that you could mark as remotely being a success was his TV reality show, The Apprentice. Everything else, he has failed at. Then we have Pete Hegseth, who is clearly a Christian nationalist, who was kicked out of the National Guard because of his extreme views. His body is riddled with white supremacy and Christian nationalist type tattoos. The guy once received a letter from his mother begging him to stop beating his wife because she deserved better than that. He is an out-of-control drunken idiot who was a Fox TV host. These are the two guys that oversee this operation in Iran. They are steering our country into waters neither one of them is remotely aware of nor properly prepared for. And let me tell you something. It scares the hell out of me, and it should everyone in our country. Let me ask you this. Do you think that Iran was not ready for this? Do you think we caught them off guard? Do you think that they have not been preparing for this moment for years, if not decades? Do you think they are unprepared to defend themselves? Bibi Netanyahu has been talking about this shit since 19 1995.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
That is when he began his narrative of Iran having nuclear weapons. And he has finally found an American president who is gullible enough and dumb enough to believe his bullshit and act on it. A fucking narcissistic psychopath who craves power and money because he simply has nothing else in his life that he cares about. Well, other than himself. Neither one of them give a shit about anyone. This is Gaza 2.0 to Bibi, and Trump only sees opportunity and dollar signs. Americans need to understand something and pull the wool away from their eyes. Just because people who are on the other side of the world, who look differently than us, who dress differently than us, and talk differently than us, does not mean that they are fucking idiots, and they do not know what they are doing. They have a tenacity deep within them to defend their homeland at all costs. They have been doing it for thousands of years. And that is the problem with American white Christian nationalists. They believe they are superior to all others because they are God's warriors. They believe that they are fulfilling prophecy. They believe they have been chosen by God to conduct His commands. They believe that this is their destiny. And that, my friends, should shake us all to our core. They have taken a substantial portion of our military might and concentrated it on one spot in the Middle East. Look, I am not trying to fearmonger, and this is not being hyperbolic. I am just putting out scenarios so you think long and hard about the possibilities that could happen from all of this before you jump on the bomb the fuck out of Iran train. What if another Pearl Harbor would occur? What would happen? What if the West Coast was attacked? What if there are terrorist cells that exist within our country right now, which we know there are, that are just waiting to attack our cities and citizens? Is this administration, is our military prepared to defend our homeland properly and at the speed that would be needed? Are we going to use these ice fucks to defend our country if this were to occur? Do we have enough military personnel stationed around our country to react if events like this were to occur? I mean, shit. Currently, we have the nation of Qatar building their own fucking military base within our borders in Idaho to train their military pilots with our fucking planes. Because they gave the felon pedo a fucking luxury jet and joined his corrupted board of peace. Yeah, this pisses me off. Look, I hate saying this, but I believe it to be true. Future generations will look at this time in our history and will ask themselves the same question that Germans and others around the world were asking themselves after World War II. How did this happen? Because no one in our military ranks has the nerve to step up and say, no, this is unconstitutional. No one has the nerve to speak up and say, stop these dumb motherfuckers. They're breaking military code with every order they give. If those military leaders who were gathered in a lecture hall a few months ago by Hegseth and had to sit in silence and listen to him and Trump scold them like they were a bunch of undisciplined children, a 5-time draft dodger and a dude who was kicked out of the National fucking Guard, If those leaders would stand together in unity and say enough is enough, things would change in a hurry. So I must ask, are they complicit and absent of a moral conscience? Do they not give a shit about the military oath that they swore to protect our Constitution? Is there more Christian nationalists and military leadership than what I or anyone else are aware of? Or does their knowledge of knowing what dictatorial tyrants do to those who do not follow command stay fresh and in the forefront of their consciousness? We all need to keep a close eye, on what is happening in the Middle East and come to the realization that this could be the start of World War III. In my heart of hearts, I hope I am wrong. Is this Armageddon? Well, I personally do not believe in all of that. I will leave you with your own devices. This is what these sons of bitches want. They want World War III. They want this. Make no mistake about it. They are narcissistic, psychopathic, arrogant lunatics who believe that they are the most powerful men in the world and that there is no one who can take that away from them because they are conducting the wishes of their God. They are unorganized, untrained, and out of control religious freaks. It is exposing just how dangerous Christian nationalism can be, especially when it has infiltrated our leadership in government and in our military. This is some scary shit, and we all need to pay close attention to all of it. I want to thank you for joining me on this pod. Please like our channel, subscribe to it, leave a comment. Let's start a conversation. We are three Hoosiers who are simply trying to talk about the topics that are going around in our world and in our state. And all we want to do is to make it make sense. Catch you next time.